Hello, my name is Morgan. I'm a registered yoga teacher and an avid reader. In my classes, I like to infuse the themes from the books I'm currently reading with the physical asana practice. This week's class theme comes from the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. The Power of Now calls the reader to remain in the present, to end pain and fear through detachment from the ego, and to separate the mind from the true self. The author guides the reader to spiritual enlightenment through the path of surrender. Ending with a thought-provoking question: how will I know when I have fully surrendered? When you no longer need to ask the question. We'll begin lying on our backs today.
Get into a comfortable position, allowing your whole body to melt into the mat. Begin to notice how your body feels. If there are any points of tension or resistance, any areas to give extra love to today. Then bring your attention to the general energy flow that's circulating through your body. There's no need to provide any judgment, just notice. We'll bring our attention to the breath that enters and exits our body. First, just noticing, feeling where your body rises on an inhale and flattens back onto the mat on an exhale. Begin adding a sense of control to your breath. You want to find samavriti, an even breath. Inhales equaling your exhales in both volume and duration. On an inhale, pull your right knee into your chest and give it a little hug. Flex your feet, curling your toes towards your nose, creating total body engagement. Extend your right leg up to the sky as if you're stepping on the ceiling. Release the grasp of your right hamstring, using the strength of your core muscles to hold your leg in the air. And breathe in stillness. Bring back a bend in your right knee, hovering your knee over your chest before releasing your leg back down onto your mat. Take a moment between sides to notice what you notice. Then bring your left knee in towards your chest, giving yourself a little hug before extending your left leg up to the sky. Release the grip on the back of your hamstrings, allowing yourself to find strength and control in activating your core muscles. Bring back a bend in your knee, hovering it over your chest for just a moment before releasing it slowly down onto the mat. A moment of stillness provides opportunity for discovery. Pull your knees into your chest. We'll find a few rocks before coming to a seat at the top of your mat. Come into a tabletop position. Wrists underneath your shoulders, knees under your hips. Find a neutral spine, then we'll add some movement with cat-cow. Inhaling for cow, dropping the belly low, and exhaling for cat pose, arching the back. Follow your breath, inhaling for cow and exhaling for cat. Finding those moments of stillness in between and noticing what remains. When you feel complete, curl your toes under, lift your knees, and step back into a high plank. Create engagement by hugging in your core. Bring your right knee in towards your chest and hover, holding, before extending it out to the left side for fallen triangle. Maybe hover your right foot off the mat, engaging your bandhas, your core locks. We'll come back through high plank, slowly and controlled, before doing the same thing on the next side. Bring your left knee in towards your chest, holding it, finding engagement. Find fallen triangle, keeping the hips lifted, and maybe lifting the left foot off the mat just an inch. Come back through high plank and send the hips up and back for downward facing dog. Maybe pedal out the feet a few times. Settle your mind in this new position. On an inhale, prepare, and exhale, step to the top of your mat into a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, exhale to fold. Inhale, rise up strong, pulling the hands to heart center. The quote from Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now that will guide our practice is observe the mind, smile at it. The first step to separating the mind from the true self is to observe the mind, being a watcher. Inhale to reach your arms overhead. Exhale, find a fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Step back into high plank and lift the hips for downward facing dog. Stay here for one round of breath. And on an inhale, we'll prepare. And exhale, step the feet to the top of your mat. This will be your sun A. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, release. Inhale, root to rise, extended mountain. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, rise back up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back, high plank. We'll meet in downward facing dog. Stay here. Remain. Inhale to repair. Exhale, step to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up into chair pose. This is your sun B. Sink low and hold your chest high. Notice as your thoughts arise, like clouds, allow them to pass. Can you sink a little lower? Overcome the fluctuations of the mind. Fold, release. Step back into your high plank. We're about to move a little quicker. Follow your breath and quiet your mind. Downward facing dog. Lift your right leg to the sky and pull it through with gentleness and intention. Rise up into warrior one. And exhale, plant your hands, step back into high plank, and meet in downward facing dog. Lift your left leg to the sky. Warrior one. Rise up strong. Exhale, plant your hands, step back to high plank. Notice the thoughts immediately after a breath, after a posture. Down dog. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, walk to the top of your mat. Forward fold. We'll find fingers to toes, forward fold, using the peace fingers to grasp onto the big toes. Your feet are hips distance apart. Pull your elbows wide and release the crown of your head towards the mat. What do you notice from the mind in this stillness? You are no longer the thought. You are the watcher. Release the grip on your big toes and rise up to a halfway lift before placing your palms face up underneath your feet. In the same process as before, pull your elbows wide, allowing your torso to get closer to your legs. Go ahead and release your grip, standing up tall. Point the toes out and the heels in. We're preparing for Malasana squat. Sink down low, keeping the chest high. Engaging the knees with the elbows and the elbows with the knees, creating that isometric contraction. As always in my classes, you have the option to use a block. Go ahead and place the block under your seat and then sink down. This is a great option for those who have knee or hip limitations. I'm going to take a few moments to go over some expectations for our balance series that's coming up. The most important things are gaze, your drishti, and breath. This helps to control the fluctuations of the mind, creating equilibrium inside and out. Plant your fingertips to the mat, pushing yourself up. Remove a block if you have one. Ground down and reach tall, creating a strong foundation. Pull your right knee in towards your chest and maybe extend it out in front of you before kicking it back towards the back of the wall, reaching the chest forward for airplane. Palms face down, gazes directly in front of you. Plant your fingertips on the mat for standing split, kicking your right heel towards the sky and driving your left heel into the mat. Release and come into a forward fold at the top of your mat. We'll rise back up and do the same thing on the opposite side. Engage your core and pull your left knee in towards your chest. Extending your left leg long. And with grace and control, kicking your left leg backwards. Focus on your breath and your drishti to create peace and silence in your mind. Lower your fingertips to the mat for standing split. Your mind may be telling you that this side feels different. That's okay. Plant both feet on the ground and rise up to a halfway lift and then to a full stand. Forward fold. Step back into downward facing dog. Find a cycle of breath here. Recenter, reconnecting with your breath. Lift your right leg to the sky and pull it through, coming into warrior two. Deep bend in your right knee, engagement through your fingertips. Notice your thoughts, feelings, emotions that are coming up here. Straighten your right leg and turn all 10 toes to the left side of your mat, reaching up on an inhale and exhaling to fold. You can stay here or find some playful movement, maybe placing your left hand on the center of your mat and reaching your right fingertips to the ceiling. Switching, inhaling to reach up, and exhaling to switch. Maybe take both hands from one side to the other, finding a deep stretch in the hamstrings. Or even skandasana, a side lunge, finding a deep bend and alternating knees and staying low. We'll meet up in a forward fold. Inhale to slowly rise up, reaching the fingertips up to the sky. We'll prepare for pyramid pose. You may need a block for this pose. I certainly do. Ensure your stance is wide as if you were standing on railroad tracks. Bump your hips slightly back. Reach up tall and fold forward over your front leg. If your hands are on a block, make sure not all of your weight is pressed into your hands, but equally distributed between all 4 limbs. This pose is difficult. It may bring up some emotions. Observe this. Don't let it overwhelm you. Leave your left fingertips on the mat or block and reach up, opening towards the right side. Pulling your shoulders back and opening through your chest. Make sure that you're keeping your left heel on the ground. Place both hands on the mat and step back into high plank. Lift your hips for downward facing dog. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Lift your left leg to the sky and pull it through with control, rising up into warrior two. What are your thoughts saying? Is this almost over? Is it time to get on the floor yet? What am I going to eat after class? Observe your mind, smile at it. Straighten your front leg and turn your toes towards the right side of your mat, reaching up on an inhale and exhaling to fold. On this side, stay in stillness, watching and observing your thoughts with vigilance, attempting to separate the mind from the true self. Rise up, bringing your block with you, Prepare for pyramid at the top of your mat. Create a wide stance. Reach up tall, engagement in your whole body, and fold forward, noticing the sensation in the back of your left leg. Maybe allow your head to release and surrender. Keep your right palm rooted into a block or the mat, and extend your left fingertips towards the sky. Notice your body telling you that this is hard. It is hard. But you're stronger than the fluctuations of your mind. On an exhale, release your left arm back down onto the mat. Step back into your high plank and lower slowly into a child's pose. Knees either wide or in close to your chest. Come into a stillness within and without. Rise up into forearm plank, pulling the hip bones towards the armpits, engaging the core. Gaze between your thumbs. Lower the hips to the mat for Sphinx pose. Inhale to lift back up. Exhale for Sphinx. Inhale, forearm plank. Exhale, lower all the way onto the mat. Head resting to one side. Stretch your arms out into a T. Use your left fingertips to prop you up as you rotate your torso open to the left. Left toes finding the mat or the floor space behind you. No need to get caught up in if you look like you're doing the pose right. Notice how it feels. Come back through center, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. This time using the right fingertips to prop you up as your body twists open, facing the right side. You have the opportunity here to find playful movement, wrist circles, a half bind behind your back, extending your top leg to the sky. Whatever feels right in this moment. When you're complete, we'll roll back over onto our tummies, forehead placed on the mat. Find stillness. Reach your right fingertips forward, bend your left knee, and reach for it with your left hand. Find half bow on the left side, lifting the chest off of the mat. Gaze towards the top of your mat. Gracefully rest back onto the mat. And extend your left arm out in front and grasp your right ankle with your right hand. Inhale to rise up. Exhale to stay. One more inhale. And exhale to release everything back onto the mat. Place your arms by your sides to prepare for full floor bow. Bend your knees. Reach back for the insides of your ankles or the tops of your feet. Lift the chest on an inhale, squeezing the inner thighs, pulling the knees together, and lifting the thighs off of the mat. Pull your feet towards the ceiling, as with the crown of your head. Amazing work. Release fully onto the mat. Push yourself up through tabletop. Find a low lizard lunge on the right side, bringing your right foot to the outside of your right pinky, finding a deep bend in your right knee, maybe scooching back your left knee a little bit in space. Notice this deep stretch in your right hip flexor. It's well known that we hold emotions, stress, and tension in our hips. Sometimes a stretch is overwhelming for people. Rather than being overwhelmed by these thoughts and emotions, peel them back and notice the energy that resides within you that separates the mind from the true self. We'll transition into half Hanumanasana, sitting back on our left heel, reaching the fingertips to the sky and folding forward over our right leg, ensuring that our toes are curled towards our nose to feel that deep stretch in our right hamstring. Come back forward through your lizard lunge, and we'll inch the right foot over to the left to find a pigeon pose. Sit up tall and check to make sure that your left toe, knee, and hip are all in line. Stay here or walk the fingertips forward to fold. Allow yourself to surrender to stillness, silence, and peace. Begin to slowly wake your pigeon up, sitting up tall, planting the hands on the mat, curling the toes under to step back into your high plank. You can lower the knees into tabletop. We'll find a low lizard lunge on the left side. This side may feel differently from your previous side. Don't allow the fluctuations of the mind to overcome you. Stay present and separate your mind and your ego from your true self. Straighten your left leg for half split, sitting on your right heel, growing tall before folding forward over your left leg. Use your inhales to facilitate expansion and your exhales to stretch deeper into the pose. Transition back through lizard lunge into half pigeon on the left side. It doesn't matter if your left shin is parallel with the top of your mat. Make sure it's somewhere comfortable and safe for you. You have the option to stay upright or to sleep your pigeon. Maybe choose the same thing as the previous side or choose something different. Observe your mind. What is it saying? Smile at it. Walk your fingertips in towards your shin to rise back up. Shift your weight over to the left side and swivel your right leg to meet your left out in front. Make sure your block is close before lying down all the way onto your back. We'll find waterfall pose. Legs at a 90-degree angle, reaching up to the sky. You have the option to use a block. From bridge pose, lift the hips and place the block at a level 1 height underneath your sacrum. Now lift your legs up to the sky. This inversion reverses blood flow, allowing greater oxygenation to our essential organs. This also provides a great space for silence, contemplation, and stillness. Sit here and notice your thoughts. Slowly lower your legs back down onto the mat, lifting into bridge pose if you have a block underneath you, and placing it somewhere out of the way. From here, come into plow pose, lifting the hips over the shoulders and sending the toes above the head. Ground through your upper arms and support your low back, making sure the weight is between your shoulder blades, not on your neck. Even though we're nearing the end of our practice, continue to focus on the breath. This is still the most important thing. Maybe notice the silence and peace that you experience after a breath. Slowly lower one vertebrae at a time onto your mat. Find a brief moment of stillness. Draw your right knee in towards your chest before finding a supine twist, opening your right arm. expanding through your right side body. Return your knee into center and hold for just a moment before releasing your leg back onto the mat. Draw your left knee into chest and pull it across your body to find a supine twist. Focus on breathing into the left side body and settling the mind. Return to center, holding your knee in stillness and engagement before resting it next to your right leg on the mat. Settle in, getting out any last wiggles as we prepare for Shavasana. For our meditation today, I will be guiding you through the layers of consciousness, or the koshas. The koshas are sheaths of illusionment that must be unveiled to reach the true self. Our first layer of consciousness is the Annamaya kosha, or the physical sheath. This is very black and white, what you are sensing right now within your body. The next layer of consciousness is a little more ambiguous. This is the Pranamaya kosha, or the energy sheath. Prana is the life force that innervates all life. It rides in on the breath and can be described as that buzzing, humming sensation that makes you know that you're alive. When we peel back this layer, we find the Manomaya kosha, the mind sheath. This holds our thoughts, cognition, and emotion. Notice any thoughts or emotions that are swirling around, and note that these do not come from the true self, but from the mind. The next layer of consciousness is Vijnanamaya kosha, the wisdom sheath. This holds our reasoning, perception, ego, and judgment. If you are still holding on to an egoic perception of yourself, this must be let go in order to reach the last layer of consciousness and the true self. Anandamaya kosha is the last layer of consciousness. This is the bliss sheath, the radiant sense of pure joy and peace. This is not likely to be found in the first meditation session, but when your practice is well attended, without break, for a long period of time, and in all earnestness. Slowly begin to awaken the physical body, wiggling the fingers and the toes, deepening the breath. When you're ready, we'll meet at a seat at the top of your mat.
If you read or already have read The Power of Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me for class today. I bow to you as you bow to me, as together we say, Namaste.